You are now live on Channel 8 and YouTube.
Thank you. Good evening, 6:30 p.m., March 2nd, 2026. I call the Select Board regular business meeting to order. If you are able, please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As a reminder, this meeting is being broadcast live on TCTV Cable Station 8 and on the YouTube web platform. A recording will be available on TCTV YouTube channel after the meeting. At this time, is anyone else recording the meeting? And if you would all please silence your phones at this time. Thank you. As a reminder, public participation will be limited to citizen input, a maximum of 3 minutes per person, so as to be fair to all. This meeting is governed by the Massachusetts Open Meeting Law Select Board Policy. This meeting is for the board to conduct its business. We have town employees, board members who need to be places in the morning, as well as residents who may be watching from home and who may lose interest in meetings going over 4 hours. First item on the agenda is the approval of prior meeting minutes. February 9th, 2026. At this time, I would move to approve the meeting minutes of February 9th, 2026 as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any amendments, changes, concerns? Hearing none on the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
You said yes.
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Coe?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The next item are executive session minutes of February 9th, 2026. I would move to approve the executive session meeting minutes of February 9th, 2026, not to be released at this time.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none on the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
And I vote yes. This time, do we have any citizen input?
Sir.
We have one.
Time stop when I stop talking and now. Try to make something easy for you guys so you can have to take notes. Please. Not that my opinion is that. Cool. Hello, board. Terry Griffiths, 12 Drury Lane.
Hello, Terry.
Everyone. So my little cliche is life is not a sprint. The older it's a marathon. The older I get, the more I realize that. And I feel like it's the same for our town. You know, some people get discouraged, but we're chugging along. I handed out, you may have already known that they are not going to do the Gardner Sludge landfill expansion. It's been on the internet and in the paper. My friend Alan Russo asked me to look at section 6 of part 2 PFAS and residual technology and management study, the conclusions from Mass DEP put out by Ty and Bond. And that's what I gave you a copy of. So I just want to read that. Part 1 of the study documented current sludge generation and management in Massachusetts. It showed the POTWs in Massachusetts rely on land application, incineration, and landfilling to manage their sludge at both in-state and out-of-state sites with capacity for all of these outlets overextended and decreasing. Northeast landfill capacity is decreasing, particularly for unstable wet waste like dewatered sludge. Apart from an alkaline stabilization facility in northern New York and Canada, there are no facilities producing material for land application that report having additional available capacity in the Northeast. Additionally, there are no potential increases in incineration capacity in the region. Historically, it has been proven to obtain the necessary permits and public acceptance for new incinerators in Massachusetts. By 2028, annual sludge landfill production is expected to grow to 172,200 dry tons from approximately 165,700 dry tons generated in 2023. And that's Ty and Bond and Caldwell 2024A, Section 37. Several outlets will reach capacity or be shut down by then, and very little additional capacity at existing facilities or capacity at new facilities will be available. According to Part 1 of this study, Section 1.2, a minimum of 7% of the sludge generated in Massachusetts in 2028, 11,826 dry tons, will have no available outlet for reuse or disposal of any type under status quo conditions. In Part 2, Sections 1 through 4 examine how growing concern over PFAS and wastewater is impacting the sludge management landscape through evaluating PFAS treatment technology, source control options, and regulatory and market considerations. Section 5 discusses various hypothetical scenarios and presents associated cost estimates from the resulting impacts summarized in Table 6.1, Table 6.2 below. Note that these scenarios are not mutually exclusive, and it is likely that at least portions of multiple scenarios could come to fruition in coming years. So to make a long story short, my suggestions are on the back, that the board might do well to create an environmental liaison position, or, somebody that could keep track of all these things in the area. That would include monitoring the closed Gardner landfill and soon-to-be closed sludge landfill, monitoring them forever. There are issues right now, the old landfill, 4 broken monitoring wells and 1 4-dioxane leakage, current active sludge landfill ponding on the top with overflow. I know we have a water department, a conservation commission, and a board of health, and it might be nice to get updates on a regular basis, considering these are adjacent to the Otter River, and I'll explain even further why I feel that's an issue right now. I also finally finished the hazard mitigation plan. Let me see. Okay, so I finished the hazard mitigation plan, and I would like to encourage the board to continue working with emergency management and Richard Curtis to finalize the hazard mitigation plan and present it to Capital for a 5-year plan, but consider changing our policy to add a 10-year plan as well. The policy plan is people are getting discouraged and don't want to bring anything to Capital because it keeps getting bumped down the road. We know we need money, but again, life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So a 10-year plan, thinking out 10 years, might help the community in the long run. That's just my next suggestion, especially with the results of the, it's a plan. It's an action plan at Section 6 says what the town should be doing to prevent hazards. So I also have an idea. One of the biggest hazards in that plan that comes to light, because I'm just sensitive to it, is the Depot Pond Dam has a leak. It's leaking. It's a private owner. But my suggestion would be consider using some of the $600,000 lien money once approved or certified, however it happens.
I'm going to have to ask you to wrap it up.
Yep, to take up a lawsuit or hire a lawyer to pursue the fines and money owed the town for Depot Pond, which is leaking and in critical condition. And then I just had one last thing. Please bear with me, I had it up. I hike a lot, and I was really shocked to find, I just lost it, I apologize. The Otter River, in Lake Denison, there's a public health advisory in the middle of the woods. Miller's River and its tributaries between the confluence with the Otter River in Winchendon and the Connecticut River in Irving, Montague, Athol, Irving, Montague, Orange, Phillipston, Royalston, Wendell, fish contaminated with PCBs and per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS. It tells you what to eat, what you can't eat, and then the other one is Lake Dennison and Winchendon. Don't eat the bass, pregnant
Yeah.
nursing. So
Thanks.
that's it.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.
Any other
People
citizen input?
listen.
Town administrator?
Yes, sir. Just real quick, to comply with the open meeting law and our obligations, relating to collective bargaining agreements, I just want to announce to the public that, on behalf of the select board, I have signed a memorandum of understanding or agreement, I should say, with the police and dispatch unions. We just need to announce this, publicly because we discussed the, contract and, the select board voted for me to sign on their behalf at our last meeting executive session. So to just comply with the open meeting law, we just have to announce it publicly. And so that's what I'm doing now. And I also just wanted to quickly announce that Noel Francis resigned from advisory recently. So we do have an open seat on that very important committee. And I just wanted to personally thank Noel for his service to the town. He's still going to be very active in town government, just not in that capacity. I just wanted to thank him personally because when I first started, he took a lot of time to go over a lot of different things with me and to help, ease me into the town along with many other people, but he took a lot of time for me. And so I just wanted to thank him for that. And that's it for my report tonight.
Thank you. Next item, under new business, introduction of new employees.
So I just, Mr. Chair, I put these on here just so the board is aware that we hired 2 new per diem dispatchers that are used to fill shifts. And just letting the board know that Molly Brooks, who previously worked for Parks and Recreation, she worked only about 5 hours a week or so. She's taken the lead position, so she'll be working more hours going forward. And so I just wanted to announce those changes to the board.
Thank you. Next item B under appointments. We have several candidates for the Parks and Recreation Commission. According to our website and the special legislation, there are room for 7 members, and I believe there are 2 open spots. As shown on the website. Whether that's correct or not. Mr. McClure, do you want to see if I please?
Kenneth McClure, 64 Bridge Street, Parks and Rec Commission Chair. So currently we actually have 3 spots open on the Rec Commission. Mr. Sutton recently stepped down from his position. We've had 2 open for several months now. With him stepping down, that now has a 3rd open, and we do have 3 candidates we would like to recommend. The first one would be Heather Fisher, who is here tonight. And then we have Bree, and then Amanda Iona, who Amanda could not attend. She is in college and actually had basketball practice tonight. Originally, she was going to be available by 7 for Zoom, but her practice switched from 6 to 8. We desperately need these commissioner spots filled tonight, if possible. Our board has functioned well the last several months, but having additional people on the board, as you guys know yourselves, is definitely an asset, and we could really use that kind of going forward as our spring season starts with our rec programs and our play group and our swim program and the many different services we provide.
Okay. Any questions on the board regarding, I'm just looking at when people, submitted their interest form. One is January 29th, 2026. One is January 31st. The next one is February 3rd, and the last one is February 7th.
I'm fine with the recommendations that Ken had made, Heather, Amanda, and Brianna, Bree. Yes. Make a motion to appoint Heather Fisher. I can't say her name else, Amanda. Where's it?
I think it's Iannico.
Clown and Brianna. How do you say her last name? Egan. I don't just want to be responsible for her own. To join Parks and Rec for the expiration date of June, was it June 30th, 2026?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? On the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you,
Right.
board members.
Thank you for all your hard work, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
And now we have
Cultural Council?
Cultural Council.
two candidates for the cultural council.
You have three, Mr. Chair.
It's three, first 3-year term.
You have three.
Let's see.
You have Irene Murray,
Yes, Ms. Murray.
Leah Stegeman,
Ms. Snow.
Mary Frances Miller.
I make a motion to appoint Irene Murray and Stegeman, Mary Frances Miller to the Templeton Cultural Council for a term of 3 years, beginning February, oh, that's not the right date. Beginning today's date to February 9th, 2029.
Not sure we can take it to this date
No,
of 2029.
no. Oh, we have to do today's date. It must have been left over from,
Yep, because I really
canceled.
kept getting
Yeah.
rescheduled. Yes.
yeah, it threw me off here. So what is it, February, what's today, February?
March 2nd.
Oh, today's March.
Today's March.
Yeah, that's great. March 2nd to what? March 2nd, 2029? Would that be correct, James?
Yeah, I think so. 3 years.
Okay.
Yep. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none on the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yeah,
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is C. Fiscal 27 draft budget, town administrator.
Yes, sir. To my friends at TCTV, can you put up the PDF I sent of my presentation?
Yep, 1 second.
I hope you don't plan on us reading this.
Yes, I might, just so you know, board, I might do some pointing over here.
okay.
So here we are. We're beginning the process of the new fiscal year budget. We're talking about fiscal year 2027. Oh, first off, I want to thank the department heads for their efforts to date. They've been wonderful to work with. So my instructions to them to start off was a fewfold. One, give me a essentially level service budget, meaning give me a budget that allows you to continue providing the services at the base level that we are providing them today into FY27. Only increasing for things that must be increased, like fuel or technology always goes up, computer replacement always goes up. I asked them to include union contract settlements if it applied to them, and for non-union employees to factor in a 2.5% COLA increase. And just to remind, a lot of what I'll say is for the benefit of people listening at home who aren't going to be as well versed necessarily as a select board. The non-union employees last year did not receive any sort of COLA. It was a tough year. And so I just want to make note of that for this fiscal year. Because obviously not getting any sort of cost of living adjustment, reduces their buying power. And so that was part of the few increases that I wanted the department heads to factor in. So COLA stands for cost of living adjustment 2.5%. I requested that the department heads continue to use best practices and get quotes anytime that was relevant for any type of software or equipment that they were purchasing. And as you know, the department will be coming in Saturday for the annual budget presentation where that allows the select board to really get into the weeds of each budget and to go through it with them. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. There we go. Thank you. So let's talk about budget drivers for a second before we get into the meat of stuff. So I want to start off with the FY26 disallow. So many on the board will be familiar with this. Last fiscal year, in order to balance the budget, I wasn't here, of course, but a number of cuts were made throughout the budget. I don't know what the rhyme or reason was for different points, but as I went through the templates, there was a lump sum disallow in most budgets. So in order to start with the base budget, well, let me back up. So we're still in FY26. The department heads are still feeling the effects of whatever cuts that they're going to have to make. So, with police and fire, they have overtime lines. So, if they're lucky enough, because there's only so much they can manage in that area, maybe that's where they're saving. Some departments have technology costs. They'll kick the can on that stuff to try and, make the budget work. But starting in FY27, the disallow from the Excel templates is taken out because I wanted the department heads to tell us what it costs to run their department at a level service. So right off the bat, I want to point out that simply by taking out the and we'll get into this a little later in the presentation, simply by taking out the disallow, that's about 26.4% of your deficit that you're going to see. So if there were no COLAs and union settlement contracts and the cost of fuel and electricity didn't go up, you'd still have an increase. And right now that represents about 26.4% of the deficit, which we will get to. I'm not picking on Narragansett Regional School District, but I just wanted to kind of show the numbers next to each other. Their 23% increase is 477% of all of our new revenue. And again, if I added up all the town side budgets, it'd probably be something similar, but I just kind of wanted to show that representation of, part of the budget compared to what we're seeing in revenues, and we'll go into revenues in a little bit. 400,000 or so was used in free cash in FY26, none in FY27 for operating expenses right now. So that 400,000, that's going to be an additional hole that's exacerbating the problem. New growth, only 60,000 increase in FY27. From the assessors departments, they give us that number. Conversely, last year, the assessors used about, I saw Justice in here, was like 60,000 last year was records. Yeah, what was actually budgeted was 148,000. So that was against the recommendation last year. So next bullets kind of explain it. A liberal use of revenues in FY26 helped close the deficit. Whereas right now we are starting off with, the common best budget practice of conservative use of revenues in FY27. So that's going to further exacerbate the problem. Now, health insurance, we're looking at a 20% increase due to claims. So being in the group that you're in, I think Templeton was thinking down the road when they joined this group. Being a part of this group, even though you're as small as you are, we have access to the claims data. I can't see who's going for what, but I can see what services are being used, and our health insurance consultants can see even more than that. But so part of the 20% increase to our health insurance is claims, but it's also the use of GLP-1 drugs. These are the drugs that are used for weight loss. This is not counting these types of medications are used for diabetes. This is just the weight loss stuff. And so this is contributing to the 20% increase. But I should also note that last year Templeton was told to budget an 8% increase over, but was actually budget was 5%. So that exacerbates the problem a little bit as well. We underfunded the health insurance budget. And so we are, the 8% wouldn't have even covered what we're experiencing now, but to underfund it makes it worse. So we're more in the red than we would otherwise be. Most employees took a 0% COLA in FY26. So obviously we're going to attempt to give non-union employees some sort of COLA. But I should also note that the prior TA, ATA, whoever it was, negotiated larger increases in FY27 for union contracts. And as this board knows, we settled some contracts. They were settled with me, but I did not negotiate them. So we're experiencing some larger increases in those settlements than in prior years, mostly because a lot of the unions took zeros in prior years. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. We'll get into some revenue numbers now. So I just wanted to show some snapshots of everything that we're looking at and working with here. So there's your real estate year over year, about 2.5% increase. Your UGA, that's your unrestricted general government aid. That's from the state aid to us, about 3.6% increase. I think I've mentioned this before. In FY26, I'm essentially working with numbers that I'm trying to gather from spreadsheets that were here when I arrived, trying to figure out, what the exact numbers were. I thought that the state was only giving us 2.5%, but the year over year number, I know that number is correct because that's from the cherry sheet. Not really sure about that one because it comes out to a 3.6% increase. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but maybe Templeton got some more. But this is a struggle I've had with some of this stuff. There are a couple of numbers on here that I'm not quite sure of, but regardless, this is where we are now for UGA, which, by the way, one of my favorite acronyms, UGA. Motor vehicle excise tax. That's about a 5% increase year over year. Again, I am budgeting conservatively when we look at what we might get year over year. In doing my own research, I am worried that I think motor vehicle excise tax, when we look at the 5-year trend, I think it is trending higher than that. But prior to the start of this calendar year, there were worries in the market about how the tariffs might affect buyer costs and how much people are going to buy new vehicles. And so I'm concerned and hesitant to go any higher than that. Again, I'm trying to be conservative. I would rather have us surprisingly take in more revenue and have it flow to free cash than to put in a number that has to then be adjusted on the recap, which could mean we take from free cash. So I don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul. Meals tax, as we'll see in another slide, it is looking very flat. So as this board described to me or explained to me, the idea of the meals tax is to be used for either a police cruiser or DPW vehicles. So this very odd number of $80,825, that is the exact cost of one police cruiser, which I was fine going up to that amount of money. I think we'll still come in a little under budget with that. So that actually matches the exact cost on those costs. Licensing fees, when I was doing this and looking at the trends, I felt that that was one of those ones that was budgeted rather high in the last fiscal year. When I look at the averages, I don't see, if we get 259 in FY 26, I think that's the higher end. So again, I'm budgeting conservative, so that's why you see a decrease there. So again, we have the kind of liberal use of revenue trends last year to help balance the budget, which, I'm not saying, in a pinch shouldn't have been done, but I don't want to see us get, I want to see us get hit on the recap and get hit in our free cash either. Permits and fees, I think that's flat. Again, I think it was budgeted a little high. I'm comfortable with 163. Miscellaneous revenue consists of your MART reimbursements. If we had any vehicle auctions, that money would go into there. And then your enterprise and direct cost, your direct costs from the enterprise funds where they reimburse us for health insurance and some other things, that goes into that miscellaneous. Although I've pulled it out when we look at the sources and uses. But again, when I look at that, we had some higher years. I think that number was goosed up a bit in FY 26, but I also think there may have been a vehicle auction where revenue came in last fiscal year. So I think that's what I'm remembering for that. But based on the trend, I'm not too comfortable pushing much further than 185. And then your budget this year, last year, I think there was about 404,000 free cash used this year, per the select board's semi-new policy. Based on what was certified, I think it was 15%. That comes out to 83,951. So that's what I'm using in the budget, and that correlates to about 90% of one of Bob Sozik's trucks. So the truck he's looking to buy is about 90,000. So I have that included in the budget to date. So that pays for most of that. So next slide, please. This is a bit more detailed. It is a 5-year plus approved plus budget look. CAGR, that's another acronym I like to say. It's compound annual growth rate. It kind of shows you the average, how a revenue item is doing over a time period, an average over a time period. So it's working when you look at the property taxes, and the CAGR says, well, you have a growth rate about 2.6%. Says your Prop 2.5 plus new growth. And by the way, this calculation is working on your actuals. So this isn't included in that. So it's showing you the average growth rate over this period of time. And so we take a look at that stuff that way. So generally, your biggest two things are basically your property tax and your motor vehicle excise tax. And as you can see, you don't get a lot of growth from year to year. You get more growth in some other areas, but they're much smaller dollar amounts. So not a lot of help on the revenue side of things. So actually that note on the bottom there, that's incorrect. I forgot to take that out. We actually got the Worcester Regional Retirement, so ignore that note. All right, next slide. So you have a couple charts that the board and the town like to see every year, which are useful charts, but free cash is one. I think the overlay is another one. And so I've just included those in here. So when we talk about free cash, drivers of free cash are conservative revenue budgeting and tight expense management, and not having adjustments on the recap, and foreclosures, when we have them, the interest and the fines we're getting. But free cash is really driven by conservative budgeting, conservative expense use, conservative revenue use. But what we have here is free cash is declining each year. Part of that is based off of, I think, a tighter and tighter budget, and balancing it by pushing more on our estimations for our revenues. In addition to that, we obviously don't have a lot of growth in town, so that plays a factor in how we have to budget each year. So that's your trend for free cash right now. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So again, with this, essentially level service budgeting with some of those caveats that I mentioned. So the lump sum disallow. So here's a better look at that. Like I said, 26.4%, not including Narragansett. Narragansett has their own cuts that they made, of course, but this is just the town side. And so that lump sum disallow that was kind of placed in different budgets at different amounts, it actually adds up to, over $850,000 that, departments that are currently managing. So we don't really know how this stuff is going to shake out in some cases. I can tell you in IT, which is a budget I manage directly, or Jill and I should say. The only line item in the IT budget that really can come from is computer replacements in town. So we have about a cycle that we try and do about 7 computers each year, and so it takes about 5 or 6 years to get through all the town computers, and business computers have a 3 to 5 year shelf life. And if anyone at home, is kind of wondering why, work computers go faster than, let's say, your personal computer at home, because we're banging on them, 40 hours a week, every week. So in the IT budget's case, I'm not replacing as many computers as I can. Apparently one was replaced before I arrived, and I think I'm about to replace one at the library because Jackie's computer died. And then Bob at DPW, he had a computer down there that was malfunctioning, so we had to replace it. So I think 3 out of that 7's been spent. So we're just, trying not to spend any more of that IT budget so we can meet that $18,000 disallow. Did I catch all this stuff? So snow and ice was cut last year to help balance. And so, when we start looking at the budget, you'll see a very large increase in snow and ice, because Bob's obviously trying to put that back in to have a budget that's closer to what you're actually spending. But, almost 300,000 was cut from snow and ice. And so, by the way, just a reminder, this is going to make the year over year look a lot larger, because these disallows, to start off anyways, are not in your budget. The select board could decide at the end of this process that we want to go through and do some cutting. Obviously, there are consequences to the cutting, but right now, about 851,000 is essentially put back in the budget for the most part. So next slide, please. So now we're starting to get, this is the expense side of the budget. So everyone's budget's, so Narragansett, we've had some meetings about this. I met with the superintendent, last week to do, more of a deep dive, into his budget as well. And we had a meeting today. Ms. Graves was there, and, Jackie from advisory was there in April, to talk about the budget. So we're trying to keep communications open between us and Narragansett Regional School District, and we're acting as partners in this process. So it's great. It's good communication. So $2 million increase, about 23%. I got to imagine that they made some cuts last year, and maybe some of them are a part of that too. It's probably not too dissimilar to our disallow that we had. The police budget is 23.1%. That does include the settled police and dispatch contracts for FY27. The fire department already has a settled contract, so that includes that one. So it's about a 25% increase. Public Works about 14%. That does not include their union contract because it's not settled yet. Snow and ice, as I mentioned before, I forget what the number was originally last year, but there was a 299,000 disallow. So your budget was actually 167. Bob is trying to budget for us what he thinks it might actually, take. And I know this year we've had a lot of snowstorms and we're blowing that budget away. But that's why you see a 170% increase. Administration, this is the sum of several departments: select board, development services, treasurer, et cetera. And you can see a more detailed breakdown of departments on the source and uses I think I've given you before. But administration, that's 11% increase for those smaller departments. Community services, 13% increase. That obviously includes library and council on aging. And That's also cable, right? And community services. Is that right? I remember that correctly?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, thank you. And so their budget was cut substantially too. So their budget last year was 200 something thousand, I think, but it was cut by, I think, 100,000 or so. So that budget's back up to 200,000. So a big part of community services increase is that increase year over year. Next slide, please. So it goes on and on, so Monty Tech, Norfolk Aggie, we get those numbers from them. Group insurance, this is what I mean about the math on some of these things. So I believe that's FY 26 number. That's definitely FY 27's number because I did that. So you think it would be close to 20%. Dental, which is a much smaller benefit, came at, we're budgeting a 5% increase. And so maybe some of it evens out, which is why it's 15%. But again, I kind of question the FY 26 number, but it's because health insurance went up 20%, as I previously mentioned. Other insurance and benefits, that's your property casualty insurance. That's also the Worcester Regional assessment. So we have 11% increase on the property casualty. That's due to a $100,000 claim. I guess we had sort of issue with our fire truck or an accident in a last fiscal year. And then Scout Hall obviously is going to hit our property casualty insurance pretty badly. And the Worcester Regional assessment, that's a 1.6 million assessment. So that was an increase over previous years. So 12.7% increase there. Next slide, please. So debt's gone up a bit because the Karate Road ban is now added. We have to start paying that off. We rolled that. We'll remember the select board signing the not a ban, yeah, you remember, but to change it from a ban to borrowing. But that, thank you, bond. So the ban is up there, and on the for FY 27 we have to start making payments. So that's the increase there. Let's see, special items. So that's your MART. So MART is your regional bus company. So we get assessed a certain amount of money on the cherry sheet for that, and the overlay request from the assessor's office. I don't know if it's proper to say it's a $35,000 increase. I don't know if the town cut what the original increase was last year, but year over year it's a $35,000 increase. So that's part of that special item. And I think that's it on that one that I have. So sewer department, that's your enterprise fund. Emergency management, he's asking for some expenses. So it's a tiny budget, but it adds up to 202% when you increase it a couple grand. And then there's your ambulance budget, which is funded by your receipts. And the ambulance budget partly eats some of the increases to the firefighters / paramedics. So they have a settled contract. So that represents some of the increases there. Next slide, please. All right. So again, I just full disclosure as you look through all the pages of your budget. So you heard my my budget instructions to the department heads. That doesn't mean that they weren't allowed to submit other things to you. And so they're going to come on Saturday and defend some of these changes, but so for example, there are some new employees that the department heads are proposing. And there's some information on the right there about why. So police, for example, due to the changing in the law and the post requirements, if you want to be a police officer, I think the board probably knows this, but if you want to be a police officer, you have to go to the full-time academy now. And so if you're going to go to the full-time academy, it's unlikely you want to just be a reserve officer. So we're losing reserve officers left and right. And I'm not, I know the chief's lost some. I don't know if he's lost all of them, but it's obviously going to make it harder for the department to cover shifts when they're short officers without reserve officers. I think this has been brought up before. The fire chief often goes on calls, and actually I have an anecdotal Example of that, when we met to discuss his budget, which is something I forgot to mention. So after the department had submitted their budget, I met with all of them individually. We went through their budget together. And of course, when the chief comes in, when he first walks in, I think there was a second call that was on the radio. Our guys were working a car accident, and then there was a second call, and he sits down and says, well, that's the second alarm. If I get a second call, if I get a third one, I'm gonna have to go. And sure enough, 5 minutes into our discussion, he has to respond himself to a call. So he's requesting a day firefighter that would essentially work during the day and could do that type of could respond to those types of calls, so he could stay in the office and do chief stuff. The Development Services Department is proposing an employee, basically a town planner and a grant writer. And so obviously they would work with the planning board. I think she may have eyes to make them their contact for some of the other boards. Laurie's office, I think, handles 5 boards and commissions, I think, right now. And so this position would help them with that, but also would have a focus towards economic development, which Templeton does have some industrial zoned areas, which I think would be ripe for someone with that sort of background to take a look at. And this town's also had tremendous success with Miss Curry, who used to work here part-time, getting grants. And so if we had someone who could, spend part of their day looking at that stuff, I think over time the position might pay for itself. But Lori will talk to you about that on Saturday. Parks and Rec's looking for an increase to hours in their staffing. And the one position on there that I actually put on there was for a full-time custodian. So the way it works right now is we had a part-time custodian. He worked 19.5 hours a week. He had to resign, so he's no longer here, and we have someone filling in. But with that resignation kind of comes an opportunity. So previously, the custodian was spending. He would visit town hall once a week. He would visit the senior center twice because they get a lot of traffic, so they need a little extra attention. I think the library once and DPW once, and that's it. So all 5 of those buildings got a couple hours a week, and that was kind of it. And town hall basically means we get the carpets vacuumed and toilet paper replaced and toilets cleaned, and I think that's about it. And so there's plenty of work for a full-time custodian, because what we'd also add to that is the police departments. Currently, the chief and his guys are the ones cleaning the police station. That's not normally a thing that police officers do. I would love to have a full-time guy, add that building on, and have him spend more time in all the buildings. I don't think there's a department head in a different building who thinks that they're getting enough custodial time. So, and what you see there at 33,000, Bob already has a certain amount of money budgeted, so that's just a difference to pay for that. So for 33,000, we get a 40-hour week employee. And so I wanted to add all that up, and I wanted to show you that what percent of the budget that is. So, what percent of the deficit it is. So I want to just give the board information that might be useful. So if the board said, okay, we have a deficit, but we still want all these positions, that represents a little over 7% deficit, all those positions. And then we have a couple of adjustments that a couple of employees / board is requesting. So what you're seeing on the left there are the amounts above 2.5%. The Board of Assessors is seeking a total of 5.4% increase for the deputy assessor, and the town clerk is requesting a total of 12.8% adjustment. And so those employees will be here Saturday to discuss that. So I wasn't going to tell them they couldn't submit that. So I want the board to be able to consider that. So next slide, please. Oh, and by the way, that was a 0.22% of the deficit. So if those were allowed. Here's the overlay account, currently 742,000 in the Board of Assessors overlay account. This is another one of those charts that's required that I show you and do for you each year. I think it continues to grow to very conservative budgeting on the Board of Assessors part. This year, they're requesting an additional 145,000 in current year overlay in FY27. From what I understand, they have no plans to close out overlay surplus until later. They'll be presenting, and Justice will be able to go through all this, but they have some new exemption increase requests, and from what I've seen on the OL1, about 5-year abatements exemptions granted is 107,000 per the OL1 that I've seen. So that's your overlay trajectory. So it's going up at a pretty decent clip. Next slide. So yeah, there you go. Perfect. Thank you. So there's your total expenses and revenue. You currently have a deficit sitting at $3,220,996. As I mentioned, does not include the Public Works Union contract, still in negotiations. And I have all the information I need, but I am waiting from Mr. Driscoll just to confirm that the direct costs that I have for FY27 for Light and Water Enterprise Fund are correct, and they work for them on that side of things. That covers things like, health insurance and the other benefits that we have. And so those numbers are in there, but they could change a little bit here or there. Next slide.
That number doesn't include the CBA increase either for the police, correct?
Which number?
The last number you just,
No, the police and dispatch are in there.
the CBA
Yep.
in that 3.2, okay.
And what?
In that 3.2 total,
Yes, sir. Yep. So that kind of brings us toward the end of the presentation. So there's that old adage, lower the river, raise the bridge. The river is your expenses and the bridge is your revenue. So talking about free cash for a second. So as I mentioned, the town used over 400,000 last year to balance the budget. Obviously that's not a good practice, and one-time revenue sources shouldn't be used to balance the operating budget, but ideally you would wean yourself off from it. It's going to be hard to close, it's an additional 400,000. And so the board might want to consider using some of the free cash. I'm not saying use 400,000 again, but using some free cash to help close the deficit and try and wean ourselves off year over year instead of cold turkey. Overlay surplus request. From what I understand, I don't, unless something's changed, I don't think the Board of Assessors is going to be able to release any overlay surplus. So we might be able to have a conversation with the BOA / the deputy assessor relating to their FY27 request versus their overlay surplus or their overlay reserve and overlay surplus. And then another option the board can consider obviously is reducing budgets. So we could do across the board cuts, targeted cuts, or both. Kind of seemed like maybe a both approach was taken for FY26. And then of course, lastly, you always have the option of raising additional revenue through taxation. And so these are the things that the board will have to consider over the next several weeks. Next slide. I think that brings us to the end of my presentation. Would the board like to discuss any pieces of this now? I know that was a lot of information at once.
I just wanted to say one thing, that I went to the chair's meeting today, and according to the school, whatever number he was going to say in this presentation, they're going to take it as our number. They'll be taking lower it later, but they have to do a meeting, and this is where they're going to get their number from.
Correct. So,
I just wanted to say that out loud.
well, yeah, and that's the correct approach to take, because right now they haven't gotten any direction from us. They've been talking to us for weeks now, but I think in the past what has happened is early in the budget process, someone just went to the school and said, this is your number, take it. But this year I'm trying to work collaboratively with them. And so some of us were at the Kiva, it's called, right? And we had that, actually all of you, and we had that budget presentation from them. And so they have a meeting. So by law, they have to approve our number by March 31st. So they have a meeting on March 19th. So the reason why they're taking this number is because he's not presenting until the 9th. And then this board you're not getting your final budget presentation until the 23rd. So they have to vote something on the 19th. So they were going to take this number. I wouldn't encourage this board to try and make any decisions before the 23rd. So I think what will happen is they'll approve a number, probably that one. And based on our discussion, they will come back and lower it or whatever the board's, prerogative is. But we obviously didn't want them to put the cart before the horse. So I don't know why, I don't know,
I just think it's weird. It's the whole number they wanted, and that's what's in the presentation. And so the expectations are hugely, or extremely high. Our town's never paid the full boat of what what the school wants. So I just think it's kind of strange to have that high hopes like that.
well, so in my talks with the superintendent, I'm purposely putting in their high number. This is the number that they, in talking with us, when they originally gave us a 2.5%, but they've explained to us at the Kiva meeting that would, require 1.8 million in cuts. So the number that I chose to put in my presentation was the 2.5% plus 1.8. And so I chose to do that because we haven't had talks with them otherwise. So yeah, the town may not have allowed them to take their full number before, but I'm not gonna get in front of the board on their decision on what to do about the school. So, so this, like I said, this is a preliminary budget presentation. So that number is their preliminary submission to us.
Do you have this presentation in hard copy besides these little pages?
Well, I wanted to give you something you could write notes on if you wanted, but yes, I can print you out the big slide deck. Sure. I thought that would be helpful for you. That's why I printed it that way.
Yeah,
No, but you're seeing it here, so you could write the note. I thought that would be,
I prefer, I'd be requesting.
Yeah.
Hard copy.
yeah, happy to get that to you. I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Mr. Ryan.
Yeah.
This is one of the challenges we have every year with school. We sat at the Kiva meeting with the old.
Huh?
We see the number tonight.
Huh?
We're gonna have a presentation Saturday.
Huh?
The school committee doesn't meet till the 23rd to certify their number. So they're gonna come in here Saturday, or actually next
Monday.
week.
Well, they're coming Monday,
With a number.
Yep.
That's not yet certified.
Yep.
And then, even though they give us a certification number, till we get House 1 approved, that's not, it's still pie in the sky. The whole budgetary process for the school stinks, to put it mildly. And it's been this way as long as I can remember. I don't know how to make it better, but this is every year after year after year. We've got to improve the process.
Yeah, we can't go, so if they have a legal requirement to vote a number on the 31st, that makes it almost impossible for us to come to agreement. I actually had you start earlier than your schedule last year. And because I thought it'd be great, you have like 1 or 2 more meetings to be able to talk about the budget before you have to like really make a decision. And that's about as early as we can do because, I just got Worcester Regional's assessment last week or the week before. The cherry sheet didn't come out until late January or something. Took a long time to get, so a big part of the indirect cost. So once I get the Worcester Regional assessment, I have to figure out I have to add all that into my direct and indirect costs. And like I said, even that's not so like fully finalized. So legally, I don't think we can go any faster than that, to have this board, we'd have to rush you to make a decision. That's not fair to you. And the school has their 31st requirement. So they're going to vote a preliminary number on the 19th and they can adjust it after. So it seems to be a state requirement that kind of makes this process a little almost cart before the horse sort of thing. But, the school's been talking to us the whole time. They've been great partners in this. They want to work with us. They've expressed it over and over and over. And so this is just a starting point. And he'll be here on Monday the 9th to go over his budget in detail. Again, which I imagine will be probably somewhat similar to what we saw in the Kiva.
But, to Mr. Tull's point, all school districts, especially regionals, it's a you're voting on something that you're not even sure of. It's not in writing because the state budget, I mean, before the cherry sheet come out, they were still adjusting 25 budget.
Mm.
I mean, they're still playing games. And town meeting has to vote on a number, a figure that chapter 70 money might go up, might go down. Same thing with state aid. It was reduced 6 figures, 2008 and 9. And it's never caught up. It's
Oh, yeah, no, I absolutely. And you know what, these are great points. And later in the agenda, we have a letter from Senator Durant that talks about budget priorities. That one might be more money-based, but he'll be here at one of our future meetings. I don't know if it's on the 23rd or the one after, might be the 23rd. And I think these are great points to bring up with the senator and the representative, because, you know, these are fixes that can be modified via legislation. So I think these are all great points, because what you're really getting at here is the process by which we are, you know, beholden to. I mean, as you know, there's a lot we don't control because of unfunded mandates and, you know, what the, you know, Prop 2.5 limitations and what the state, you know, decides to bless us with, Chapter 70 and UGA and, you know, things like that. So, yeah.
UGA is a whole nother story.
Yep. I noticed that the MMA posted on their front page again, what do they call it, the perfect storm thing or whatever, that talks about how the UGA numbers haven't recovered since before the Great Recession, you know. So I'm happy that they got that information out there at least.
And they've been giving us that same kind of information for years and years. What originally came out, it never kept up with the inflation rate alone. It's kind of stayed the same. And it's like,
Yep.
Can we make the adjustment or get it where it needs to be? And the answer is always the wholehearted no.
Yeah, I'm surprised they care about us even as much as they.
Something is better than nothing, but can we adjust it to where it should be? But yeah.
Right.
And on a very smaller scale, the town clerk is in that same boat as the general state aid, because in 2012, there was a realization on town meeting floor that we're trying to fund the budget with money that was not allowed. So we had to make a lot of cuts. And they were made with the selectmen and the advisory committee. And the town clerk was part of the non-union group that was cut. We had an override and got money back for them, but the town clerk, for some reason, we didn't bring the town clerk back up. So she's been behind the power curve ever since. A few years ago, we bumped it up some, but she is still far below the other department heads, because I forget what year it was, but she got left behind on her salary.
And I have,
She is below where she should have been when we did the override and restored the pays to people, but I forget how it happened, but she got left behind.
and I will say factually speaking, I've seen some surveys that the MMHR has put out recently, and some of our comp towns, and there are people, like in Athol and another one around here, who are making about as much as her with a fraction of her experience. She's been your clerk for 23 years, and so comparatively, she is underpaid. And you know, we always want to have an eye to the future and be able to attract and retain qualified people, and so paying, you know, competitively. We don't have to pay the most, but paying competitively is important.
So looking at over the numbers that you gave us, and then the deficit number, and I see that you took it down when you sent us another copy of the paper where you put the SOAR in. I feel like some of those numbers are off,
Which ones?
your deficit numbers. I don't know what numbers you used to start the whole process, but I feel like some of the enterprise, you know, the washes, the ones that are coming in that they're paying for the actual budget, might be included in your figures. I mean,
Well, sewer would be, yes, because sewer is,
but TCTV was included, but they get enterprise money.
so in my sources and uses that I said, cable direct, there's $100,000 I'm using as a revenue because that is,
And you took it out of, it's not in the the over $3 million deficit that you have?
yes. So when you look at the sources and uses I sent you, so this one with the green line.
Yeah,
Up top is revenue, on below is expenses, and so that deficit balances all that out. So, for example, you have your cable indirect, 100,000 up in the revenue. Ambulance is a 1-for-1. Sewer direct, that's a 1-for-1, but you gotta also add in they got a truck, and then water and light. Those are just revenue sources because their expense budget is not in our budget, but all that is paying for is the health insurance and other benefits, which is down in your benefits area.
yeah, still recommend you double check hours, that's all.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Just to make sure none of that stuff crept in. And you didn't, we would got like what happened to that money that we got from the Baldwinville school? Wasn't that like, didn't Adam try to include it in our budget last year or something?
Talking about the sale of that, the sale
It
of that.
was,
school?
fees, when they had to get, they got the different fees they had to pay in and stuff, and he tried to, I don't know if he successfully used
We
it.
got like permits.
We put $325,000 in the permits for 1 year and we didn't spend it all in 1 year.
Well, so
I hope not.
so up in the revenue side, there is my estimation for permits, licenses, and no, yeah, it literally has permits up at the top. So looking at the averages over the last several years, I have 163,000 in estimated permit revenue.
I just
But-
didn't know if it had that one in it.
But I think kind of what she's talking about is that, we put the $325,000 into the permit number in revenues last year. We spent part of that. The rest of it went to free cash. So potentially we're funding that again this year. So I think that's kind of what she was
Yeah,
referring to.
I guess I don't quite understand. So I have the actuals and then what you budgeted for FY26. And I think with permits, I did get a spreadsheet from development services that shows what's, currently out there and to see what sort of construction we got going on. So that's what I'm estimating is 160,000 in permits. That's what I believe is a conservative number. If they pulled all those permits last year, that would flow into your FY26, and if there was extra money, it would be in your free cash for FY27. But I can't use that money this year, so it's in free cash. If I knew they were going to pull more, like I don't know, if we found out they were doing an extension or something, and they were going to pull, $1 million in permits or something, then yeah, that would be something I would possibly factor in. But I haven't heard or anything like that, so.
Questions on the initial?
I'll wait till Saturday.
you're gonna wait till Saturday?
Saturday?
Saturday is the day.
Saturday night's made for fighting.
Saturday night's gonna be made for something.
So I was just a little confused when we got all this because I'm used to seeing a budget where they're giving you a better, broader idea of what we can live with, and this didn't seem to cut it down to livable. Just,
This is just an overview.
okay,
And it was
What you're looking for is Saturday.
okay, so Saturday,
this is
Oh,
a,
yeah.
okay,
this is a preliminary, and
I just don't remember it this way.
No, because you didn't get this last year.
Well, I also watched a different, not of different persons, not the past one, the one before that. I mean,
Yep.
I thought it was a different number that we would get.
This pretty much matches up what we've done, for the initial presentation before Saturday.
Okay.
Uh,
That was my intent. I wanted to give you an overview, allow you the chance to ask some questions. That way it would save some time on Saturday.
And this year, we have a couple extra days,
Mhm.
to look stuff over.
A couple extra meetings, yeah. Show you, where the deficit currently stands. Also explain my instructions to the department heads as well, start off, and so it'll be this board's prerogative where you wanna go. Do you wanna see cuts? Do you wanna see changes? Like what, so Saturday, you'll be able to do a walkthrough with the department heads on, in detail on their budgets, and, you can ask them questions about, well, why does this cost this? Or why does this cost that? And, you can decide if you want to make some changes, but so this was a preliminary presentation to show you where we're at now.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may. The one thing that I think is, might be throwing people a little bit here is the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, we always went off of the voted on balance or the voted on budget from last year to the next year. We didn't go in and, let's say, resubmit all the, what do you want to call it?
The disallow.
Disallows.
Yep.
We didn't re-add those and then start from there because that wasn't the budget.
Mm.
So basically in this process, we've just thrown in another 821,000 or whatever it is, on top of what would be our regular
Mhm.
process. So I mean, just
No, that's a good comment. So let me,
different.
no, so that's a good comment. So let me address that. So based on how the disallow was done, when I'm providing templates to them, I wouldn't know, so let's say I wasn't handling IT, right? I am, but let's say I wasn't. There's 18,000 in that budget. I wouldn't know where to decrease that for them. So that's why I told the department heads, give me a budget that helps you maintain level services. So if they could afford that in an additional year, then they should have taken that out. But I think what you'll find when you talk to them is that to take that out again, there would be consequences to that, can kicking. With the IT budget, like I said, it's less replacement of town computers, so we're going to start pushing that further and further. Computers get slower and slower. So it's not that I said to the department, here, IT budget, here's an extra 18,000 to play with. I said, give me what you need to maintain level services. And of course, 2.5% for, non-union employees. And, there were some diligent department heads who made small cuts here or there. But overall, yeah.
But so, I mean, just another question. I can wait till Saturday.
No, go ahead, whatever.
But, you talk about level service
Mm.
and there's a lot of added employees in this budget. That seems to be adding service to me.
Well, so like I said, that was counter to my instructions, but I wasn't going to tell the departments, no, I'm going to let them justify it on Saturday. And if the board says, sorry, deficit's too big, take it out, then they'll take it out.
Okay.
But there was
Yeah.
part of the reason why I allowed this was because there was a prior comment made at one of these meetings where someone was asking, I think it was capital related. They said, well, how come you didn't request it? How come you didn't request it? Well, it had been requested, but in, I think the year we were talking about, they didn't because they knew they weren't going to get it. So I told them, so I allowed those to come through. But I think you're right. In a big deficit year, maybe you don't. But like I said, I'm going to let them justify that. And if that's where you want to start, or maybe that's not where you want to start, but that's maybe ultimately where you go, where you take all those out. But I allowed it through, so.
Yeah, no, I just,
Mr. Chair, can we see what the assessor said? He's raising his hand. I think he has a question.
on the budget?
Oh,
Yes, and it's not really a question. I just want to say this before I forget at the end of the night when I leave. James, I really think that we need to talk tomorrow about the real estate receivables, the real estate and personal property receivables tomorrow.
Okay.
Have any time.
sure.
I just saw the numbers and I have a few questions.
Okay. Yeah, no, great. Yeah, if there's any sort of update, if you caught anything, if there's any sort of update, I'd love to
Yeah.
correct it. Yeah. I will be in and I'll reach out to you. Thank you. I also forgot, I wanted to, if the board would allow me, it's up to you, because we have a tight schedule on Saturday. And if you were interested, I was willing to go through just the IT budget and the insurance and benefits budget now, if you wanted. I don't even know what time it is, but if you wanted to, that would be a couple small budgets where we wouldn't have to do on Saturday.
The insurance benefit is, that's one, for retirement, yes.
Yeah.
Any,
Do you want me to go through it real quick?
I wouldn't have any problem with the insurance and benefits. The IT, I just don't have my paperwork or anything here for that, so.
Okay.
I don't feel it's appropriate with advisory not here to hear it.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
point.
that's a.
fair enough. I thought at least some of them
I
would be.
like the intent, but
Yeah.
I think advisory needs to be a part of it as well.
Okay, that's fair. I thought they'd be here. I think they're watching from home. Okay, so yeah, there's nothing more for me on this preliminary look.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. It's just, try and go through it quick on Saturday, that's all. Great.
next item is B, is the senior center, kitchen manager presentation. And we have the bosses here.
Thank you for waiting.
No, that's all right. So in your packet, there's sort of a summary that Ryan and I put together. To just identify the center's current staffing. We've been without an activities coordinator for about 8 months now. Ryan and the other staff have largely absorbed the primary duties of that position. We did look to fill it and we were unable to. So what we're proposing is to substitute the previous activity coordinator position with a kitchen manager position at the same hours, same rate of pay. Obviously, many different responsibilities. Because the kitchen is nearing completion and it's going to be a big piece of what happens at the center and we need someone qualified to run it. So do you have anything to add? Or?
Yeah, it's just we have this beautiful state-of-the-art kitchen and we'd like there to be a person who's comfortable with the equipment. I've never worked in restaurants, so it's not me. I'm willing to put on any of the other hats, but that's not the one. The chef hat is not the one for me. In the description, it would also pull some of the activities off of my plate because we're thinking that the kitchen manager would also create programming that is in regards to food. Like we have the new community garden coming in too, and I spoke with Carrie Novak and she could also be part of that so that we can kind of provide programming that's not just arts and crafts and music, but maybe like some cooking classes or, use this wonderful kitchen that we're about to have. So.
And I would say just a matter of history, this is not actually a new idea. It's like the kitchen, it's been talked about and brought up since the center was built and opened and occupied. This has been one of the things that, and it's in the annual town reports and meeting minutes and all of that, but this is, it would be a new position being created, but it's not a new concept that you've come up with just because you built the kitchen. This has been in the conversation with the kitchen since the center opened. And even before, in the planning stages, the Senior Center Oversight Committee, we talked about this in regards with the kitchen, with building up the kitchen and so forth. So it's like the kitchen that's coming to fruition, a decade or so, in the making. So just so people realize that you're not just coming up with this to create something. This has actually been talked about and planned to have when the kitchen that got built and finished. And so we're there. So now the next step.
Right. And as it happens, we were really not able to fill the activity position, despite several rounds of interviews with different folks. So it's not to say that position will never reappear on this budget, but for right now.
Yeah,
It's
and that
good.
has been another one that has been filled and then
Right.
emptied and it's my experience in time, it's been constant. It's coming, and somebody's filled it and somebody hasn't. So again, it's not one of those things that
Right.
somebody will come along someday and stuff will get done.
Right.
And this, Ms. Chair, this will help with the liability aspect of kitchens. With Safe Serve, I see the allergy choking, saving, and all, knowing how to use the equipment and all of these liabilities that this position, if they were to hire it, would be able to help with that. Yeah,
Yeah, like someone to manage maintenance schedules, think,
keep it clean.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's beautiful. It's really close to being
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I see, is you're saying it's $18 an hour. And, I just want to let you know the town concessions, that manager gets $20 an hour. And I just know from hiring that particular one, and talking to professionals, 18 is a little bit more of an assistant type of than an actual person that would take responsibility more. I mean, you haven't had anybody since July, so you haven't, touched the money
Right.
from July to now, all that money. So you'd have enough to carry it over. It's just a matter of making sure it can be covered in the fiscal 27 for $20 an hour. So, but I feel like you're going to have a better shot at getting someone at 20 versus 18. Especially with all these responsibilities you're asking, even a retired person. I mean, a person in a restaurant, they go in 20, 25, 30 something dollars an hour for a manager. So 18 is a bit low. It's more of an assistant. It's something, I think. That's the only thing I've seen. Other than that, I thought everything else you guys did in the book and the presentation you gave is excellent. You've covered everything, but I think it's needed for the town, especially for the liability.
Mr. Chair, if I might.
Yes.
I was just curious, and it might be listed in here, and I think I read something about it, but how do you envision the kitchen being open? How often? I thought I remember seeing some like 2 days a week. I was just wondering how these hours are gonna fit in the whole, just trying to get a picture.
So
Okay,
thinking is, our thinking to start we'd like to do a meal a week. So the thinking is, but that would be kind of a 2-day process. 19 and a half hours typically gives us 3 work days. That's how I do my schedule anyways. They wouldn't be completely in the kitchen all the time. Some of the duties from a lot of what we do is coverage of the office and people coming in and out, right? So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
no,
I would assume they would be doing the ordering for any whatever event they're
Right.
doing 1 to 2, if they're cooking a meal. Say they're doing meals on Tuesdays, so they're
Right.
gonna do the shopping for that. And then the cleanup, making
Mhm.
sure cleanup, all the supplies, everything
And
that
then
it needs,
planning,
yeah.
whatever.
And then if you're having volunteers in there to help them, I'm sure that
Mhm.
that's scheduling, right? You're looking at the person's gonna be doing some scheduling too. And you said possibly a food class or two,
Okay,
I would assume.
just something here. The money for the food.
Yeah, in our budget request, we've listed that, but we still have quite a bit of money that the former Friends of the Templeton Elders turned over. And the language, I ran it by James and it seems perfectly allowable for us to use that money to outfit the kitchen with whatever we need, utensil wise, and to make a pretty decent food budget. So,
The Massachusetts Coalition on Aging also offers like a dining program where it's like every 2 weeks, they have a Zoom call with people who have senior centers with kitchens that they can like bounce ideas off of and figure out like where to grant fund, because there is grant funding options too for food. Um, especially where we are because we don't have a grocery store. I've kind of talked to a couple of different people in that, and I feel like it's something that could be done.
Okay, because that's all, I mean, I think it's great that we're have the kitchen and if we had somebody there to potentially make a couple meals a week, so that people are fed at least twice a week.
right,
And, but, we need all the money covered.
right.
There's also the opportunity, so our meals, we haven't been charging for them because of the ARPA funds, so we couldn't charge for meals, but when that ARPA grant is gone, that is a possibility. It could be like a small fee. A lot of senior centers do,
Mhm.
like a pancake breakfast on Tuesdays and it's $3 a person, and that pretty much covers the food, right? And we'll have volunteers for helping and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yes.
To follow up on Mr. May's comment, and I'm gonna have to go home and dig through my notes. Early in my first term on the board, I remember a lot of discussions about grant funding and almost daily meals for the seniors. I will dig up the info and get back with you on that. I'll take that offline.
I mean, the organization that provides the home delivered meals, Meals on Wheels.
It wasn't Meals on Wheels,
But-
it was another grant funding
Okay.
source.
Mock that does the Meals on Wheels, they network with a catering company and they can do like, we can, when should they do
We
congregate
could
meals?
also host congregate
We could
meals.
host congregate
via
meals where
mock.
nothing's physically being prepared in our kitchen, but we have the little warming unit, so we're compliant with that sort of thing. So, yeah, I'm sure there's lots of, we've got to kind of feel our way out. Ryan's, pulled in a lot of different directions, but hopefully if we can get someone who's really plugged into food service, they can help uncover some other options too, so.
Finally getting it to the finish line. It's been a long time coming.
So do we have your blessing to advertise?
I think we're looking for a vote from the board to accept this position. And then I can work with them to get it advertised.
It's really just a change of the position or the job duties. It's not really
Yeah, it's a reorganization,
Yeah.
really. It's the same amount of money.
same amount of money, same time, same, just different duties.
If the board would like us to increase the hourly, I'm always willing to.
I didn't say that. I didn't say no, but I didn't say it.
I tried, Candace.
Well, I'm just trying to help you hire, that's all. I'd like to make a motion to change the activity coordinator to a kitchen manager for the senior center. Would that sound appropriately as a motion?
I would ask you if you would amend that to allow the town administrator to advertise for the position.
And town administrator to advertise for the position.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes. We have a lot of positions that have been recently advertised that did not come in front of this board seeking permission to advertise. I don't think we need to be micromanaging departments like this. That's just my belief on this. I think this is something that the town administrator and department heads can be working on without having to come to us to play Mother May I. That's just my personal belief.
So to Mr. Toth's point, the advertising I could do, but I think we were unsure about the process for adding a new position in town. That was the main impetus to come before you today, because we know, as far as I know, we don't have that position, so we had to
It was
create.
nice to have scenes and it come and.
It is.
But that motion is still acceptable. It's still fine.
Well. Beg forgiveness rather than ask permission, but
Mr. Chair.
this is we're here, so.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
One thought that I had, because this is not solely for kitchen worker. If I heard that correctly. So maybe we want to put kitchen manager slash, however you'd like to,
Right.
classify the other work.
Word the ad.
Yeah, because it's, it's not just a straight position to the kitchen. It's gonna have other duties, so.
So if we go to do this and then he can, work with him to word it to cover, that people know what they're getting. Good point.
Yeah.
Anything further? On the motion made and seconded, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Nice work.
When you're gonna cook, let us know.
But that's not a hat that I'm putting on.
This is on Saturday.
With meals.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. Bring food. The next item is E, the ACO intermunicipal agreement. Administrator.
Mr. Chair, so in your packets, I wanted to bring this to the board's attention because the ACO agreement is going to expire on June 30th. And I wanted to give the board a chance to provide me with any comments or thoughts or feelings they have about the ACO agreement. To date, what I've done is I've met with Bill McKinney, who's the town manager in Winchendon. And what we did was we discussed how the contract works, because I had questions, reading it and, not being, I don't micromanage ACO services or anything. We can go into a little bit how it works. But, we discussed the timeline, when it expires. I expressed to him, make sure that he understood our process here, that the select board here approves contracts, and that I'd have to work with you if we were thinking about renewing it. He is interested in renewing it. He would like to keep his partnership going. And I've also requested that he provide me with a breakdown. I forget if I sent that to you, but I requested that he provide me with a breakdown of Winchendon's expenses a month, so that I could add Templeton's in, so we could see the full cost of what's transpiring. So I'm waiting for him to get me that information. So I want to give the board an opportunity to give me any feedback on the ACO contract and what direction you'd like me to go in.
I can't give you feedback because I didn't receive, a copy of the contract.
Wasn't it in the packet?
Nope.
It was not in the packet?
Nope,
It is online, but it's not back.
I did
Oh.
not get it, and I didn't realize that that was part of the, be part of tonight's meeting.
I did send an email out on Thursday to everyone about this. Or was it Thursday or Friday? It was Friday.
I didn't, I didn't see anything for it. And it wasn't in the packet, so I didn't realize we were gonna go through details on a particular, possibly renewing the contract, so I wasn't prepared for it. I would like to have a better way to study it. I'm personally not a fan of it. We have the truck, we have the building. I'm not seeing a lot of the services that we're getting from this other town. There's a lot of issues that have been going on and number of complaints that I've seen. And I would like to know what the numbers are if we went on our own. I would like to get that number too.
Mm-hmm. Well, we would have a better understanding of that once he gets me his, but we would probably have to have about 3 part-time employees paid, pick a number, $20 an hour.
We
Um,
used to have one, before this, and it was pretty successful for many, many years, and it wasn't that many people on call. I know some people that volunteered for it. We also used to have a lot of volunteers that would help out, and we're not currently seeing the opportunity for, people that live near the, the building. And I'm not seeing a lot of activity when they do get animals apparently they're barking a lot. And I would just like to have a better chance to look over this and to know what the cost would be if we went by ourselves versus if we stay with them and any increases in them. I know there's one thing I remember sticking out in my head that we don't have in the contract that we talked about in the summertime was the fact that we don't have the provision to know what's going on. We had to do, what did we have to do? A formal request to Winchendon to find out about calls and things like that. Nobody decided to write it in the contract. I remember that part about it. Cause we went over this in the summertime. Yeah. And I know that was a big sticking point, how we were shocked that we didn't have a provision to actually get updates anymore from, I also would like to know if there's a possibility, if we didn't go and we went with them to do a mixture of some employees on our end and some on their end. Maybe that would be helpful, within the way they're living.
So the reason why there's usually one lead town in these types of agreements because someone has to process, all the payroll benefits, whatever. And, if we were to do that sort of split, the way it works now is we spend $1,450 a month that we send them, which doesn't cover all of the weekly expenses. It covers a certain chunk of it, which is why we pay, we pay for the shelter, the building, we own the vehicle, they pay for gas and oil changes, they manage the employees, they pay for, I think, a large chunk, and that's kind of what I want to see, a large chunk of their hourly rates, and then the $1,450 that we give them monthly, I'm sure covers some of that, and they pay for all the equipment. And I imagine there's certifications and training that these people have to maintain that Winchendon would be paying for too.
And there probably is an insurance bumper in the ride because it has an at-risk job, I would assume.
Well, so we pay for insurance on, obviously, like our property insurance covers our building.
But
yeah.
not the employee.
Yeah, the employee would probably be on their side. So that's why I want to see it. But just to give the board an idea, whether it's $18 an hour, $20 an hour, they get paid for. So someone, Cassandra or whoever is on duty, let's say Monday through Friday from, I forget what the hours are, I would say 9 to 5. And so during,
AM to 7 PM,
there you go.
regular hours.
All right. So during that time, whoever it is who's on, gets a certain hourly rate. that they're on. After hours, there is a, an emergency call-in fee that, and then the town to which they respond pays that. But, so Wichita pays, I think, 7 to 7, like you said, Monday through Friday to whoever's on shift. So it's split between three, part-time call people, whatever you call them. And so that would be a cost we would have to take on. Now that would be offset by the $14.50 we pay, monthly, but the rest of that would be on us. Plus we'd have to buy the equipment. So not saying it's not doable, but it'd probably be an increase into our costs. We have to pay for the training and stuff too. The other issue is that, I'm sorry, Bob, but you get your hand up, but 1 second. The other thing too that Winston's been having problems with, they've had a lot of turnover in that role. So we've had one person who's been there, I think 5 or 6 years, and then the other two are brand new, and they keep, it's like a constant turning wheel. So it's kind of hard to keep people, engaged in this sort of position. And that would be things, that's not so much a financial thing, but it's more of a headache thing that we would have to either my office or the police department, probably the police department would have to take on.
I'd like to get also the data on when a call comes in, say they come in almost exactly near each other, who gets the precedent? If it's over near Winchendon where the worker is closer to, or Templeton, I'd like to see, is there a way to know, are we getting the bang for our bucks?
There is in the contract on page 3. Item N, maintaining an accurate record of the animal control officer activities, providing the police chief or his designee a monthly report in a form acceptable to the towns, completing all necessary paperwork required by the towns, and keeping a detailed record of action taken. I have never seen that document, so I don't know who is the form. I do know an email.
So can I jump in real quick? I received from one of the animal control officers, she printed out like from their system, like it comes out in like an Excel, and it shows like the calls, like the list of calls and like where they were and I think what time. I didn't spend a lot of time looking at it. But is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yes, I'd
Yeah.
like to see the calls, and we'd like to see where they went, like, did they pick Winchendon, did they pick Templeton? That's what we're seeing from the residents, we're seeing issues where they're calling, they're supposed to call our dispatch. And if something happens in Winchendon, they're saying that they know that's what they're claiming, that's getting the precedent, because that's where the worker is coming from. And over us.
I don't know if the log will show us that. I mean, it's going to show the call, when the call came in, what the call was, where it was. I don't know if we'd be able to,
Show you.
I don't know if we'll be able to extrapolate that, oh, these came in close together and they went to Winchendon first. I don't know if it's going to be detailed like that.
According to the contract, there was supposed to be not the call log from the dispatch, but there was supposed to be a monthly report that shows the activities of the animal control officer. And it's supposed to be in a form acceptable to the towns.
Mhm.
I emailed back in August, I emailed Templeton Police Chief.
Mhm.
I called Winchendon, I spoke with the town manager, and then he transferred me to the Winchendon Police Chief. He told me over the phone if I wanted that information to make a public records request. I explained to him I'm a member of the select board. He said, well, you just make a public records request. The Templeton Police Chief, I asked him in an email about the record, maintaining that record. And I asked, are both police departments responsible for this record? And if so, when could a copy be obtained? He replied to me, there's 2 different types of requests. Jeff Bennett, the resident, requires a formal records request. Jeff Bennett, the board member, requires the board directing the town administrator to request the information from his office, then the town administrator presenting the information to the board.
Who said this to you?
It seems like the police chief is trying to tell this board how to operate. And
So what's this form called again?
what's that?
What's the form called again?
It's just described. It's on page 3. It just says maintain an accurate record of the animal control officer activities. providing the police chief or his designee a monthly report in a form acceptable to the towns. So the Templeton police chief responded to me that telling me that the board would have to do this, this, and this. Well, the board doesn't work for the police chief. It's the other way around.
Right, so it sounds like we want to correct how this process works and enforce this clause more accurately. So I could more than happy to work on that with Bill. I'm sure that won't be an issue once.
The other sticking point is it's been mentioned, I believe, since Graves is the part about responding for emergencies. Right now, the way it's worded or the way it's been told, relayed to me, either by residents or by the police chiefs and so forth, that, again, I inquired about, they responded 24/7, and a police chief said, that's two different entities, and it seems like the animal control officer gets to decide. If I called at 8 o'clock and said, hey, I got a dog out here in my yard, well, they decide whether that's an emergency or not, and they tell you, well, we'll see you in the morning. I'm under the impression and the belief that anyone who's calling animal control officer on, say, a Saturday at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, at whatever time it may be, is not wanting to just bring the animal control officer over for coffee. They have an issue, they're paying for a service, and they deserve a response.
Well, so can I just add, so my understanding of how this works is if it's an after hours call, when they respond, we're paying for that. So so maybe the way they're thinking is, okay, it doesn't sound like an emergency. Let's not spend the money to send someone out. Let's wait until they're on shift in the morning. So we would have to pay for that, is what I'm saying. If it was in Templeton, it was 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and they responded, that would be a charge to us.
So, again, it's a service, and people expect response. This, to me, this agreement is hand in hand with the regional dispatch with Phillipston. The accounting agreement that we had with Hubbardston is Templeton always comes out on the short end of the stick. Templeton residents are always paying more to benefit other towns. And this agreement, in my opinion, is another example of that. And as this is written right now, I'm not in favor of renewing it.
We also had complaints. The animals were left outside. They were barking and people in the neighborhood could hear them. Someone has a video to show it. The dog should have been brought in. Dogs should never be left out in kennels outside. People used to steal dogs in dog shelters. I don't understand that. There's nothing, I remember nothing, no provision about that. We had tons of people in our town that used to walk the dogs. And I've been told that the other town said that it's a liability for anybody to volunteer from the town of Templeton to be able to help the dog officers to walk dogs that they have until they could place them in a foster home. I don't understand that.
So I tend to agree. So if you have a dog that you take in, if it's there for a certain amount of time, I think they send it to a shelter who will then, do the process to adopt it out. I think the idea is they're staying in our shelter for not that long of a time. I think the majority of the time when you pick up a dog, I think the resident owner, whoever eventually comes and gets it within hopefully a normal amount of time. You don't want, volunteers caring for someone else's dog, because there is a liability if they lose the dog or something happens to the dog.
If the dog is in our shelter, and I know for a fact that we've had this in this town where you can volunteer and not get paid for, you're not taking a pay, but you're basically any volunteer in the town, even if you're not getting a pay, you're an employee, and you could be working with the dog officer if they get somebody that they can go, have a key, they go in there, they walk the dog to make sure it's taken care of until until they're able to have a placement. But that's not what was happening. The dog, the thing was left open, the dog could go in and out. There were 3 of them, they were out there barking, and they weren't walked on a regular basis until they found the place. These are the kind of things that residents have complained about, and this contract doesn't have provisions for those type of things, just like there is no, I have no idea, I know they fundraise. I understand they use some of the money, for if a dog has vet bills or something like that, but we have never seen anything on the fundraising, which our name of the town of Templeton is part of it, like the little dogs they sell. How much money did they get for it? Where did the money go for that? We haven't seen anything like that. I would assume that it's in some kind of account in Winchendon,
Who is doing this? Winchendon's doing it?
which it is allowing the dog officers to go to fairs and to sell little dogs to have little raffles. They even pulled a permit to have a raffle here. But we're, as a town of Templeton, we're in a regional contract. We don't see any of that stuff, but yet I feel like that's a kind of a liability on us in a little bit of a way, even though Winchendon's, I've heard from a selectman in Winchendon that it's on their side, not our side, which we're in a regional contract. It's supposed to be, it's just like the school, an entity,
Well, there was a provision in here that mentions, I don't know where, I can't find it now, but I think revenue, like, yeah, from fees or something.
They go to Winchendon.
Yeah, they go to Winchendon. I don't know. I think the fees that we charge for daily come to Templeton, like to have them in the, no?
In the dog shelter, it's $10 and $25, and it goes to Winchendon.
We don't
think-
see.
I think
any
that's probably true.
particulars on that to see what it is.
No, I think that's probably true. I think that's what it states somewhere in here. but I just don't know where it is right now.
Mr.
But so-
Chair? If I may? Two things, and James, I sent you my
Mhm,
questions and concerns with the contract.
mhm,
One thing, when you were mentioning the emergency,
Mhm.
the word emergency is not defined. So it allows the receiver of the phone call to determine if you have an emergency or not. Now, that's so vague because I would just, let's say, if there was an animal in my yard and so forth, I would describe it very calmly and very, point blank, because I could care less if there's an animal in my yard, but somebody else would be screaming to high hell if they had a bear on their porch or whatever. So I think the definition of emergency needs to be handled. Because that is something that the residents have run up against. They call, they say it's an emergency, the dog officer says, no, it's not. So that's just too open-ended. The other thing is, the money and what you were talking about for the contract. I agree that we need to, let's say, sort it out, because looking at the last budget that I could find from Winchendon for the ACO, they spent $31,000 on the ACO. Templeton spent in 26, we're spending $17,400 on the contract, plus about $6,700 on the electrical for the dog pound. We bought the truck, we're paying for insurance, maintenance on the truck. And we're also, it's in the contract, I can't see anything for it, but there's in the contract that states about a tank on the property of the dog kennel. It implies it's a fuel tank for some sort of heating. Even though it's not separated out in the budget. I don't know if it's under the DPW budget or if it's not. And there's also no water costs associated with the dog kennel, which to me, either is cruel or we're getting water from some other source that we're not, accounting for.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to the dog kennels. I haven't seen anything that would give me alarm.
Yeah,
I
no,
think there's
I'm
water
just-
there.
I'm just saying to quantify the actual contract, I'd like to see the numbers.
Yep.
Because it seems as though we're probably paying as much as Winchington, and I would agree playing second fiddle. Which I'm kind of tired of in this town.
Yeah. So just so you know, so I did in FY25, the electric costs for the main building and the trailer came out to 4,540. So I did look into that.
Isn't there a sink in there?
There's
Yeah, I remember it being a sink in there, so they,
the electrical,
I know they just
there's
bought,
2 electrics for that kennel.
we just bought something for
Yeah,
them.
that's the electric is the
maintenance-wise.
heat.
I don't know if it's
electric lights.
the heat
Yeah.
or if the air
So-
conditioning, something just went, Bob just had it.
Yes,
fixed
there
or
was a
replaced.
heater that was worth 5K and there was a door worth 1,300. And that was part of my question to them is, you know, we might be spending kind of a lot on capital here and there, you know, maintenance. So, you know.
I did have one other question.
Sure.
The last job posting that was put out for the animal control through the town of Winchendon. It was listed that the ACO vehicle was a take-home vehicle. It's our vehicle, and this board, I don't recall approving the take-home vehicle.
well, so Monday through Friday, when they have those scheduled shifts, 7 to 7, well, I guess. I think the idea is that person has it at their house. So if they have to respond, they get in their truck and they go.
Okay, so that goes back to the emergency call out. If I'm going to give you a vehicle and I'm gonna call requesting the ACO, you don't get to tell me, no, you're not coming.
Well, I totally understand and I don't
Yep.
disagree with that. I just want to make sure you know, or understand that between around the hours of 7 to 7, if we do change it so that every time they get a call in Templeton, we're sending them out, that will increase our costs because we pay per call outside of those scheduled hours.
We're
Oh.
getting double hit. We're providing the vehicle and then they wanna charge us for the call out.
Mhm.
We could,
That becomes a bit of a sticky wicket. They are not town of Templeton employees, but they're driving a town of Templeton vehicle. Do we have all of their driver history on file? Do we have copies of their licenses? I do believe that's a requirement.
Yeah, Winchendon would have that.
Do we have it for our vehicle? I don't believe we do.
I would doubt that
But-
we have it. I
Yeah.
would doubt it because that stuff would be the Winchendon employees, like you said, so.
and I also might add that we have the parking location for the vehicle, because that's usually an issue on the insurance.
It is.
Yeah,
Um. I think it's garaged here,
it's never here.
Every-
It's really even.
but we
here
can't have
to-
multiple
Clean
garages.
it.
though. I think the town, I think we would garage it here
You go
because
further.
there's 3 different people who use it right now, so.
And
3
it
different
goes to
locations.
fairs, it goes to different places.
Yeah, but we're talking about
Just-
garage it, so.
Pittsburgh, it goes all over the place. Everybody sees it everywhere except in Templeton.
Well, I mean, they do come into Templeton for calls. I mean, it's garaged here, but it's used a lot. It's at people's house because it's being used. You know, when our garaging of our police cruisers is the police department, but they're probably out on the road now. I mean, so they don't sit in the station too often.
No, but they're also predominantly not leaving the confines of the town of Templeton.
Except one.
Well, town vehicles are allowed to, via insurance, they're allowed to leave the confines. of
They
town.
are.
It's not a problem.
They are.
Would Witchin be the ones paying them when they go sit in fairs, or would that be, is that a joint? Do we pay for that too?
If they're doing it during the 7 to 7 hours, Monday through Friday, then that's Winchendon's paying for those hours.
And if they went to a fair on a Saturday,
If it was a Winchendon fair, I guess it would be theirs.
ones if they went to a fair that was on our property, that was a,
I
If they're
assume we
people-
would pay, but it's not really an emergency and I don't know that they're doing that. We're kind of asking
Well, we-
questions. I don't know that they're.
they have a touch of truck fair.
Yep.
Yep, they put on a touch of truck fair. We don't see any what they brought in for it. It was at Gilman Way. so-
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure all of the revenue from fees goes to Winchendon. I think that's in here. So that's something we could,
But what
Ask
is
you-
it- I'd like to see how it paid for the dog, how did it take care of an operation? What did it do, It has our name on it.
so can we summarize what I'm trying to get direction from the board? So it sounds like the board wants easy access to the reports that Mr. Bennett mentioned. We wanted, we want to define emergency. We want a more fair split on revenue. What's this one? I had the fourth one.
We want to see what the cost is if we go without them.
And yeah, so we want to see what
We
the,
want to see the current reports on the calls. We would like to see in any revenue they brought in, if they were able to give it to us, any fairs, any selling of any, raffles or whatever, what they used it for. That would be nice to know.
is there a time frame we want to see revenue brought in?
I would just like to get a broad picture of everything. If we're going to think about possibly going with them or going on our own, I would like to get a full picture for us to have all the facts, all the details.
No, it's all asked for
I
a
would-
revenue picture the last couple of years.
I would like to say, over the current contract,
You like to what?
for a time frame over the current contract.
Okay,
Well, that expires what, in June?
June 30th, so it'll be 2 full fiscal years plus a partial year. Okay, so if that's it, I'll work on getting you that data and we'll bring that back.
Thank you.
And you have my stuff.
Yep.
I would like, I'll possibly be requesting this to be on the next agenda. I have to find out, Vassal is gonna be, I know she has concerns and questions on this. We just have to, verify, but she didn't get back to me. That might have been a time thing. If she will make the next meeting on the 9th,
Well, she'll
she
be-
can have a chance to, voice her concerns,
Yep.
questions on it.
And hopefully I'll have an update by then, so. Okay, great, thank you.
That it on, what is that,
Yeah, for now.
that we don't like it.
Yes, I think we made that one clear.
Next item is F, marker of boundaries,
I will step down for this one.
town administrator.
Mr. Graves, is volunteering to be your marker of, boundaries. And he's here if you'd like to talk to him about it.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to speak to the board? Briefly?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
All right,
what you're requesting or asking.
so as was included in your packet, did you all see the email and the letter that I had sent?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. That your longtime official marker of boundaries, Fred Henshaw, has decided to no longer continue with that position. He did turn over some materials to the town regarding the boundary markers. What the official marker of boundaries has done is, as a requirement of Mass General Law, gone out and inspected the boundaries of the town of Templeton. The way I would describe it is, imagine Templeton's a square and you're going to each of the four corners, although there's quite more than that. And seeing if the stone monuments that are still there are intact, if any have moved, and making note of that and making an official record of that. We do have a map, a historic map of the town that shows where they currently lie, or where some of them used to until certain natural, events had happened, resulting in some of them disappearing. This particular appointed official usually helps facilitate what's called the perambulation of the boundaries, which is a requirement of the town through its Board of Selectmen to at least every 5 years make an official record and go out to the boundaries and mark upon their face, showing that they have made a visit within the last 5 years. it really doesn't get much more complicated than that. Some people may hear the term official marker of boundaries and think it has to do with, oh, I can call someone to go and survey my property, or that it is someone who is an official surveyor for the boundaries of the town, and that is not the case. If there were a boundary issue with the towns, that would have to be surveyed and paid for by both the towns. That's a different Mass General law, but I wanted to mention it just so that when you hear the word marker of boundaries, nobody thinks that somebody's actually going to go out and physically start surveying the boundaries between, say, Templeton and Gardner, or Templeton and Phillipston. Those are historic boundaries that have existed through authorization of the general court, and the way that the state was cut up. With Fred having stepped down, that leaves that knowledge open on the table. Fred is a good resource that I have talked to in, various capacities over the years. But like I said, he's not willing to continue doing it anymore. And I am perfectly willing to do it if the town wanted me to. Are there any questions, concerns, comments?
I will say that we did appoint Fred last year until June 30th, 2026. So, and that's it's been an annual appointment each year with our appointments in June. I know there are, I know there are two boundaries that have been found and marked according to the town of Hubbardston. That they actually found them and put their mark on them. I looked at bordering towns to see if I could find a report. That's one that I found that they did it. I'm assuming, well, I would think that maybe that's their 5-year project, but I didn't stay, but it was and I drove down the road and I saw the address and I said, okay, so you go in the woods, however far it is. I can't remember off the top of my head. So, but this would be a thing that we can keep on file, and it be part of our annual appointments in June. It's on the long list of ones that we do every year. In your looking up on this records that you have, we have input from the surrounding towns letting us, Templeton, know that, they actually found boundaries A, B, C, and they couldn't find D and E or.
Right, the one that you're talking about from Hubbardston, I would have to check with the town clerk, because when towns do this, you're supposed to send that report to the town clerks of all contiguous towns as well as the select board. The last report that I've ever seen from a town was the Hubbardston one, and that was a few years ago, I believe. They had come through the town clerk's office. I can double check with Carol to see if any others, but I haven't heard of any. I know that that Fred regularly walked the boundaries, and I believe that the ones that I have, there's a full-size map that's now being kept on record at the town that does mark which ones have been found, approximately when certain ones were lost during different periods. So it, in terms of how accurate that is, I would say it's fairly accurate, but again, you have to go out in the wild and see what's still there. But I can double check with them.
Because I suspect this is one of those things that's not very well monitored and done, because it's one of those things that's way at the bottom of the list as far as priorities, budgets and things like that are top of the list. even though it is a law that we are supposed to do it every 5 years. And it just, and if boundaries aren't there, you know, if you can't find the marker, you know, do you do the surveying and get markers put back? So it'd be an interesting thing to do, but, as I said, we already, we appointed Fred through, and I know this is his last year, as he had indicated that he was getting off the Board of Assessors and he was not gonna do this anymore. So it's just something that we'll have to, keep on the radar for our annual appointments in June for the list.
The only I just wanted to ask a question to Justice, since you seem to have the information. So we do have a map in town that denotes the markers that have been found and where they are
Yes,
on a map.
yes.
Thank you. That's all.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I did want to clarify when you're talking about Fred, that Fred has currently resigned, so that position is vacated as of right now. So just to be aware of that.
But we could vote him in until June 30th and then redo it then. Is there
We're
a
in
need?
no shoes to go find them.
Hey, you know, I don't know what Justice likes to do. He might like to go out trucking through the snow.
Gonna be spring before we know it.
Yeah,
I got a bear on my porch that will go trucking through the snow.
yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes.
If you had to venture to guess, how many hours would you anticipate it would take to walk the boundaries?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, Templeton is,
I don't either.
I don't know. I mean, you're talking to a former cross-country runner, so in terms of me walking out into the woods and going in whatever direction the wind takes me, you're talking to the wrong person if you want me to guesstimate that and if I'm concerned or not.
No, I'm just trying to get a feel for it, because we're talking Gardner, Hubbardson, Royalston, Winchendon. Phillipston.
Yep.
Yep.
You think further? Does the board wish to appoint now or?
He's here.
Okay, I would move to appoint Justice Graves as a marker of boundaries for the town of Templeton through June 30th, 2026.
Second. I seconded it.
Any discussion? On the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
No.
Yeah, I will vote yes.
Well, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Have a good night.
You as well.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Next item is G. Town Administrator, a letter from State Senator Durant's office.
So the senator would like the board to consider their fiscal 27 priorities, specifically the way it was phrased. Don't have it directly in front of me at the moment, but the way it was phrased, should better understand the needs of the district. I'm reaching out to see if you have any specific items that you wish that I submit into the budget as an amendment for the town. So it kind of sounds like he could be talking about earmark money type stuff. So I think he wants to know what your priorities are, if there's anything you know, would like to see us get some money from the state for. I think it's the prerogative of the board what you want to send him.
Main Street Bridge.
Yep.
Main Street Bridge, Stone Bridge,
Hamlet, Hamlet,
which one?
Hamlet Mill.
Yes, Hamlet Mill. Thank you.
Welcome.
What's the other one? I'm only familiar with Main Street and Hamlet.
Stonebridge,
Stonebridge.
Where's that one?
the one that ain't.
That what everybody wants.
What?
It's the one that ain't.
You go-
What?
Yeah,
Ain't there.
if you go, it's off, you go down Berry Road, hang a right on, I think, Henshaw
Henshaw.
Road to get to, the bridge that used to be there.
Stonebridge Road.
Stonebridge Road.
And it comes out on,
Yeah, what's that name of that road out of the side? I'd say it's
Long history. The town would like it back. Many member residents of the town have made it clear they would like it back. We've had many meetings on it.
All
It
right,
was an
so
old bridge. Somebody took it down.
I can add that to a response. Does the board want to send anything else?
Is it stuff like, like we're upset about busing money? Transportation?
I mean, I
money?
think.
Money for a public safety building.
Yeah,
fire station, AM, PM.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna ask, go big or stay home.
So what would the board like?
there's money for a public safety building.
Either design or design plus.
I believe he had indicated in the past that he would, push money for a new fire station. If,
he did meet a couple years back with the fire department. And
if
I
there was
was
a
there.
plan or something put forward.
And we needed to have a study and a
Yeah,
plan.
feasibility study, yeah, cause you can't. Well, state money, you gotta have a study to make sure this and then have
Mm-hmm.
it spent.
All right, so I'll ask for fire station feasibility, money. Is that it?
Put it on the want list.
There's lots of stuff we want.
Oh, I was gonna say, we could keep going, but
Big bump in state aid in chapter 70, but
industrial park.
Yeah, industrial park.
I think if we could get half of those funded, we'd be doing well. Real well. Long overdue.
All right, I'll send him, I'll send him the bridge stuff and the fire station feasibility study money.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thanks.
Send a cookie along with it.
That's right.
yeah, but you. Yeah.
Okay.
Is everyone for our wish list?
Yeah. It's pretty expensive, so
Yeah.
if we add more, he's just probably gonna think we're. Yeah.
The bridges alone are gonna be 10.
Yeah, it could be a four.
Yeah, state ain't giving you $10 million, so I think our asks are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Expensive enough.
We don't get anything, so,
Nope, we're west of 495.
yeah. And these are the things that we 100% need the
It's
best.
been a few years since we had the big checks on the wall.
Yeah. We could get one of them.
Next item on the agenda is item 8. It's to open the town meeting warrant. This was actually the last meeting that we actually had that wasn't canceled by snow. Mike briefly was according to our meetings that we should have opened. We were gonna open it then, and then had 2 meetings that were canceled because of snow, so. We'd like to open the town meeting warrant. And I believe it's May 13th, 2026. Our town bylaw, it has to be open for 14 days. And if we would vote tonight to open it, starting at 8 AM in the morning, if we closed it on March 17th, that would, we have a meeting, a regular meeting on March 23rd to approve the warrant, or we could wait until April 6th. I believe the drop dead date that we could give it to the advisory committee would be May 6th. They would have to have the pre-town meeting and have their report posted a minimum of 2 days before town meeting.
I think you need until April to finalize the warrant, because I think you're gonna need March 23rd to have at least a final discussion on the budget. If not, first meeting in April, but because March 23rd, the police chief comes, and then I think we start making decisions about the budget.
So
April 6th would probably be pretty good time frame to close the budget, close the warrant. What do you say the latest was? Because, well, as long as we have some clarity, I would have to get the draft warrant done actually the prior week. Because I'll be away on the week of the 30th, so I'd have to get it done for you after your 23rd meeting. Get it done that week. That way you have it for the 6th. Unless you wanted to wait until, I assume we have a meeting on the 20th. I don't have the schedule in front of me.
I believe we meet on the 23rd of March.
Yeah.
Then it would be the 6th and the 20th, I believe.
This is 6th, and then the next one's the 27th, yeah.
We gotta get it to advisory, so there's time for a pre-town meeting.
So if we were to have it in front of us for an approval vote on April 6th, that would give one, two, three, That'll give them over 3 weeks to schedule a pre-town meeting. They no longer have to put anything in the paper, so it's just posted meeting. And it has to be, the report has to be available for the public, at least 2 days before the meeting, so somewhere between the week of, May 4th through the 8th, they would have to have that up on the town website. So if we opened it this evening, close it on the 17th, which is a Tuesday? Or do you want to leave it open for more time, basically for citizen petitions?
So you're saying open it today and one option is to close it and approve it on April 6th? Is that one option you were saying?
Well, you don't want to close it on that Monday. You'd want to close it on the week before. We try to close it on the same day and get last minute stuff from citizens.
So you could close it, the week before, as Ms. Graves said, and then approve it on the 6th. Just if anything last minute comes in, you'd have to handle that with Jill because I'll be away that week. So if anything comes in on,
So the 2nd.
we choose to close it on the 2nd, if anything comes in between, the 30th and the 6th, then you guys just have to send that to Harrington and Heap to just look over. But hopefully it won't be a problem. Hopefully the week before, hopefully the week of the 23rd, by the end of the week, I can have what's going to be your final draft. So that way, when I return on the 6th, you already have it.
Do you want to close it on the 23rd
Yeah.
of March?
Yeah. How long do you have to have it open for again? How long did you say?
14 days.
Yeah.
It has to be open for 14 days minimum.
Yeah, 23rd would work actually.
Okay.
That way there's clarity in what I need to send to Harrington and Heap, and I can get it back in time, and it'll be all set for your meeting on the 6th. That would work out nicely.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll give a week.
I'll give it
Over a week.
Yes, I will.
Time for you to close, noon time, close of business.
So we're saying, where's my thing? Yeah, so what? So noon on the 23rd? Yeah.
Okay, so I move to open the annual town meeting warrant and to close on March 23rd, 2026 at noon time.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none on the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Next item on the agenda is citizens petitions. These are the 3 citizens petitions that were submitted last spring. Two current members of the board were on the board back in May 8th. There was an email sent to the board from Holly Young on May 8th. The majority of it was on petitions submitted by Julie Farrell for fluoride and stuff. Uh, Those were submitted out, all of these were submitted after the warrant has closed. Um, Those were in the hands of the board, so they were on the special town meeting back in, this past fall. These three here, they did not come to the board. So they did not make, the annual, and the town clerk emailed me on the 29th of September, and that was after we had the special town meeting warrant. And if we opened the warrant to put these on, the warrant would have to stay open for 14 days, the special town meeting warrant, and then it has to be posted for 14 days. That's state law. There was no time. So it was agreed, and this was through town council, that these would be placed on the annual town meeting of 2026. They have all the signatures. They've already been verified by the Board of Registrars and everything like that. One is to amend bylaw chapter section 300-9, the CIA, and then there is the C-IB, which is just kind of piggybacking, and the third one is if the ask town meeting selectmen to hold a public hearing on residents' concerns of 24 Holman Street. It's all revolves around the waste plastic incineration plant. And it talks about concerns of McValley order the payment of the back taxes, which has already been done. But it's a citizen's petition, and I did get an email from Ms. Herman asking the status on these, and I told her they were on tonight's agenda and they will be on the annual town meeting. It'd be up to them if they want to come forward and make a motion to town meeting for. Typically, advisory committee does not go either way on citizens petitions. So I just put these on the board, on the agenda, to inform the board and the people out in TV land that these will be on the warrant for annual town meeting. Any questions on that? It's, I mean, it's just, it's a long process, but stuff happens.
They know what to do. They know they have to go on the floor and present. Yeah.
That is the end of the new business. We have one item under old business, table business, housing in school, Mr. May.
I just wanted to hand this out to keep you guys up to speed on a couple things. Remember back a few months ago, I handed you the school's population, and you know, we discussed a little bit about BES and the schooling and so forth. So what I did is I went and I asked the what do you want to call them? The person in Phillipston, the chief administrator in Phillipston, what they saw presently and coming down the road. And I asked our development service department, and before you is what I got for a response, which is basically saying that the Phillipston building commissioner and planning board chair put together some rough numbers, and the building commissioner told me that he had 15 to 20 new homes in the last year, and the planning board chair told me that they approved another 10 lots. So there's more activity in the process. In the town of Templeton, in fiscal year 25, there were 59 new housing units permitted, including the 54 unit Baldwinsville Elementary School. Now that 54 unit building has 99 bedrooms. So that's, let's say 45 potential kids' rooms. So that's a concern for the school. And they have 8 units to date, and this is stated in 25. I think she used, well, that was 25. 8 units to date, in counting in-law suites and ADUs. So those wouldn't be, let's say, so much a concern for the school's process. And as you heard from Superintendent Cassavant, the present count at TES has gone down. So, we're a little bit clearer, but we're still right at the, let's say, cusp of overcrowding. And it seems as though at some point we need to do something about that. We need to have discussions about it or something, because if we don't, and if things keep going the way they have, we're gonna be put in a bind. From what I see, we're gonna be, and if you know how willing Chris is to talk about this feature. You heard him say we will not speak about it at the meeting that we had at the Kiva. This is wise because it's he's worried that just Baldwinsville Elementary School alone could give us trouble at TES. And we don't have anywhere to move. We've already moved the 5th grade to the middle school, and I don't believe there's enough room there to move another grade. So it's just something to keep in your thought process and in your mind, because I know none of us want to be put into the position of, let's say, forced to build another school, or potentially increase the size of a school, or whatever the deal is. But we are tight, and we're just getting tighter with the as time goes on, because as everybody here knows, the population of elderly we have in this town, when that turns over, that's probably going to turn over to younger generation with kids. And right now we're sitting at, I think it's, I don't know, maybe James would know better, but I believe we're about 18% or so elderly population.
It's 18, 20 something.
Yeah. So that's a big chunk in the housing swing. As elderly move out or pass on, or yeah. So we have, things to think about. And I think we need to be in contact with the school very vigorously on this, personally.
We are on the bezel. And
Yeah,
they're not going farther enough west.
right. Well, that's the thing.
You're in a good location because, people can come here and get to Worcester in a half hour and without traffic. Boston a half hour-ish, it's, and you're pushing further out west compared.
Mm.
That's why when we were building the elementary schools, the projections throughout the state was school populations as the elementary was on the decline, and it went that way everywhere except here.
Mm-hmm.
We bucked the trend and went up. I just hope the school committee, they have the option to vote, not taking kids in. You can't take can't stop kids from choicing out. But they have to vote each year, I believe the law is to not accept school choice students, anymore. And once you have them, well, you
Yours.
have them, but you don't, and that's the thing where you get into this fine when you initially take school choice.
Yeah, and that's the problem that Chris was referring to with the way they set it up in 2011 to throw the 9 teachers under the school choice funds. So now they're kind of stuck unless they can buy those out of there. And I've had this discussion with Chris on multiple occasions that, ideally 0 would be the number. That if we, we're sending out and getting in and the amount you came up to 0 would be ideal, or even if it was negative, it would be better for the students in Templeton. But the, school choice, and I have issues with because I feel it's just a dilution of
It's
funding, so. But anyway, that's all I wanted to bring in. I wanted to wait till after, I had this information before, but I wanted to wait till after the vote was taken. And the roof is secure and so on and so forth. So that was it for me.
okay, and that's the only item under old table business. It is now time for board member comments. Mr. Smith?
I've spoken enough.
Ms. Graves?
I just wanted to say that I hope it doesn't snow anymore to cancel. If it does, can we have a Zoom option? Cause these makeups are not ideal.
Mr. Tough?
Yeah, Mother Nature's not being kind and winter is just hanging on and hanging on and. Again, keep an eye on your neighbors, keep an eye on your pets. We got a couple more cold days, but we had a little teaser Friday and Saturday, so. It looks like the end of the week, we might start seeing another bit of a warm up and some more melting. I know, not what you want to hear, Mr. Bennett, sorry.
I saw 60s.
The birds are very active.
I have one thing, I'd just like to. Since we've had a couple open meeting law complaints and this seems to be a revolving thing, I would like to inform people in TV land about the open meeting law covers public bodies, multi-member boards, committees, commissions, whether they're elected or appointed. The town administrator is not covered under the open meeting law. The town administrator can meet with the chair of the select board, a department head, town council, anyone else. They can meet in here, they can meet in his office. Whether they take notes or whether they just talk and kick ideas around, they talk about anything. It can be budget, it can be litigation, it can be employment, it can be building, it can be the school. Kids, this, that, the other thing. Since they are not covered by the open meeting law, there are no meeting minutes because it is not a meeting covered by the open meeting law. If they have notes, he has notes. But again, he is not covered by the open meeting law. There are no executive session minutes. There are no open session minutes. There are no meeting minutes, period, because he is not covered by the open meeting law. I don't know how more plainly to say that to the residents. So you're asking for something that does not exist and is not required by law. That's my comment for this evening. We do have an executive session and I'm not sure how long it will take.
If you're worried about the 10 o'clock, I think we'll be out of there before that.
We'll be out of there one way or another by 10.
Oh.
At this time, I would move that the board enter into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to possible litigation, Narragansett Regional School Agreement, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and I do. The board will reconvene in open session only for the purpose of adjourning the meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. On the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Phil?
Yes.
And I vote yes.